It's on.
Let's go. Let's go.
It's cracking, brother.
All good, bro. All good. All good. Excited for today. It's gonna be a fun episode.
100%, man. 100%. We've got another guest for episode 13. We are super excited, super psyched to announce her. We're going to go straight into it. So, shall we do it?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Quick finger draw. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. So we have Grace Stilgo joining us today. So Grace is a nearly qualified actuary by day and a Team GB Powerlifter by night. So she's been powerlifting for just over 3 years and training for around 7. Her powerlifting achievements include, wait for it, bronze medalist at the British Championships in 2018, 2-time silver medalist at the English Championships in 2018 and 2019, gold medalist in the under 63 kilo weight class at the Western Europeans 2019, and the bronze across all weight classes. Not just that, best female lifter at the Home Nations in 2019, silver medalist at the British Championships in 2020, and if it wasn't for COVID, she would have competed at the World Championships last month in Belarus.
Damn.
So without further ado, welcome, Grace Stilgo.
Hello. That was quite an intro. No one's ever read out all of them things in a list before. That's pretty cool.
I feel pretty proud.
Yeah.
Yeah, damn right. That's epic stuff.
Mighty impressive, Grace. That is a pretty extensive list of achievements.
Thanks.
Awesome.
You know, space of 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
3 years.
We're going to get into how that happened, but what are you going to say?
Sure, definitely.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, how did you pack all that into 3 years? That's nuts. That's crazy.
I don't know. Yeah, I never really meant to. It just kind of happened, but we can talk about that.
Love it.
All right,
That's
cool. I reckon a good place to start then is getting to know you a little bit. Like, what was life like growing up? Why did you choose Actuary? How does powerlifting fit into all of this? Go.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll start with why I chose actuarial, because that was like way before any kind of lifting or anything. So at school, I was just really good at maths and science. Loved science and still do, but was good at maths and thought, this is an easier way to make money. So, I come from like quite a working class background where the focus was really, when you were considering what you wanted to do when you grew up, it was just about how you're going to make money. There wasn't really any consideration for like, what do you really want to do, or what is your passion, or what are you interested in? It was you need to get a good job so that you can make money, and that's why I chose actuarial. And yeah, it serves that purpose, and it's challenging, but it's not really a passion. If you,
what is it, Grace? I didn't even know it existed as a thing until Grinda mentioned you were one, and I was like, sorry.
Yeah. So I'm going to try and like not bore you and the listeners with it.
Just tell us.
We want to know everything. Yeah.
It's basically like the area that I work in is general insurance. So that is like anything that's not life insurance or pensions is referred to as general insurance. So everything else. My work is London market work, which is mostly like not personal lines. So not house and car insurance, but more like factories, commercial properties, aviation, marine, energy, like big risks. And the area that I work in is reserving as well. So it's basically determining how much money insurers need to set aside to pay their future claims, and then that goes through into the accounts. So there's quite a bit of crossover with accounting as well. There's all different areas that actuaries can work in. That's just mine.
Cool. What is it about it that makes you excited to do that job? Like, I know you said it's not a passion, but like, what is it that keeps you taking over with it?
It's the mental challenges. It's really boring, especially like the job that I've just left this week was in a consultancy. So like very busy, a bit too busy actually. But there was just always something new. So it's good to keep yourself like learning and developing. And it definitely achieves that.
Yeah, cool. It keeps the brain firing.
Yeah, it's good for that.
Really,
And it can make you feel quite accomplished as well, you know, like when you're presented with a difficult problem and you manage to work it out, and it's quite a nice feeling.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, like having to preempt problems before they even arise, and then figure out. I'm sure it's like figuring out probabilities and figuring out, like you said, risks and stuff. There's a lot that goes into that. It's like almost like you're having to problem solve on a very grand scale with a lot of different moving parts, right?
Yeah. And then you've got like every client is different and every insurance product is different. So there is quite a lot of variety in there as well. So always thinking, which is nice.
I like it. Does that, random question, does that cross over into your daily life? Like, do you feel that you're on the ball all the time as a result of being this? Yeah, I bet, right? I get
absolutely.
that vibe.
And sometimes it's a bit much.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when this whole coronavirus
for your own life.
It's too much, because I'm quite an anxious person as well. So the two combined, it's like, I don't know if I'm good at my job because I overanalyze everything, or I analyze everything because of my job. Like, I don't know which came first. But I do like question everything, overanalyze everything, think about things a lot. That's just.
I think it's you, man. I think it's you. I think you came first, and you were like, I can do this. I'm good at this.
Yeah.
Watch me do it. Watch me do it.
Yeah.
Hold my barbell. Let me do this.
Yeah. Before barbell even came into it as well. Now it's definitely on the barbell.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, like when this whole corona thing kicked off, I made a spreadsheet projecting, like, couldn't help it. I was like, oh my God, like, I need to know what's going to happen. And I don't believe in numbers. And I'm like, so I had like, I kept it up for a while, and then it just got too depressing. And I was like, no, I don't like this anymore. But I had like a column of confirmed cases and a column of deaths. And I had like my projection versus the actuals. It's something that we do at work, like all the time, like projection. And I was tracking it.
This is legit.
Exactly.
It's not healthy though. I shouldn't be doing that, really.
We need people like you, Grace. I swear, we need people like you. You know, people like me offset people like you. I swear, because like if there's a spectrum, I'm way off this end, and you're definitely way on this end. Because like all I've ever been told in my entire life is like, I don't know whether it's at work or I'm just properly laid back with not too laid back, but I'm not that. It's different. Like I think there is certain parts of certain parts of work and whatever that I'm definitely that in with, but the way you're describing it, it's you. It's like kind of your way is that. That's really cool. That's really interesting. Like I said, people like me definitely need people like you on the opposite end to offset us. That's really interesting.
Yeah, we need all sorts, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say, is that I want to know how your projections compared to what the actual projections were.
So they were pretty spot on before lockdown, and this is why I was panicking. Like, so I basically went into lockdown like a week before lockdown happened.
Shit.
Yeah,
because I was like, nah, this is getting out of hand. Like, I can't be here for this. Like, it's just getting crazy.
Yeah.
I said to work, like, I don't want to get on public transport anymore. I just want to work from home because it's getting nuts. And obviously everyone at work as well is kind of like, they know how numbers work too. So they were like, no one really objected to that.
Yeah, cool.
But then like my sheet was using the assumption that like the government wouldn't do anything because they weren't at that time. They were still talking about herd immunity and stuff. And I was like, wow, this is going to go mad. But obviously when they introduced the lockdown, then that changed everything because the numbers ticking on like they were.
Yeah, okay.
That's mad. You're like the person in the start of like the day after tomorrow, and he's like on the computer. He's like, this is not like anything we've ever seen before. That's you. You're that person who blows the whistle and saves the world. This is why you're necessary, Grace. This is why we need people like you.
Johnson needed me. He needed me. He should have been listening to people like us, but he wasn't.
Too right. No, he's still not listening because the gyms are all still bloody closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you do? You got to build your own. That's what you ended up doing, right, Grace?
Yeah. I had my own since December, actually, which was so fortunate.
Yeah.
So lucky.
That's so cool. Home gym. Yeah. Have you ever had a home gym during the?
Man, my home gym is like a couple of bands and a 16-kilo kettlebell right now. That's all I've got. And my bed to do Bulgarian split squats off of.
Love it. Just bench dips like that. Just bagging them out all day long.
Exactly. It's like, what can I do? All right, I'll figure this out. And that's it. That's as good as it gets.
Wicked. Yeah.
Actually, having said that, no, that's a lie as well. When we were like 18, 19, 20, we had a bench and some weights. Probably went up to about, I think they went up to 105 kilos. Because I remember, because one of my mates came over, he just cleared the whole thing. And then, and I was like, oh, wow, okay. I didn't know we could do that when we were 18. And then, that was it. Yeah, that's what I remember now, actually. Yeah, now that you bring that up, but that was it. So those are the days like bench and buys, right? For like a straight summer.
Well, bench and buys and carbs for you, right? That was your thing.
Yeah, that was it. It was carbs, actually a lot of fat as well.
Carbs. Like, your carbs, yeah.
You said carbs.
I thought you said carbs. I was like, no, actually, to be fair, man, it was a lot of all of that shit. It's just, I was like a skinny kid, so I just wanted to tank up in 2 years and put on like 16 kilos or something stupid. But usually, like Grace, if you knew me when I was like 15, I was like 60 kilos, 59 kilos or something. And then I went up to about, yeah, exactly. I could have been like, I wouldn't be at the under 63s, no way. And then
so Grace, what do you weigh?
What do you compete at? That is definitely not what I weigh right now.
Love it.
Which is fine, because who knows when we're competing again.
Sorry, do you go through a big weight cut when you compete, or do you stay roughly close?
I normally sit, well, over the last 3 years, my off-season weight has crept up. So when I first started competing, I didn't even have to cut to be 63.
Wow.
And for the last year or so, I've been sitting at about 66, which is fine. It takes me like 3 to 4 weeks to get down to 63. And that's like nothing crazy. That's, I can still eat and drink as normal the day before a comp. So not a big deal. Right now, I'm sitting at like 67 to 68, depending on the day. I've never been this heavy before, but I've never been this strong either, so it's fine.
Down gains.
Yeah, it's fine.
Love it. That's usually find that, well, from my experience with training, weight makes you move weight. You know what I mean? Like mass moves mass. Yeah. So for sure, you definitely feel and that, have you? I suppose you just get into the powerlifting thing now, right? In terms of why powerlifting? In terms, you've explained kind of Actuary a little bit. You've explained the work. Link it back in for us. So like you're an actuary, you're working. How does that translate into us eventually picking a barbell up?
Yeah, well, I think I'll start from like when I started working, because I think there's some things in my childhood that probably impacted it as well. But, from when I started working, I guess, I work in the city in insurance, and the culture it has changed actually over the 10 years that I've been working there. But when I first started, it was very much a like pub lunch kind of culture. People like drank every lunchtime, drank after work. All of the kind of like meetings between like us and external people were at the pub. And I started working. I put on like quite a bit of weight quite quickly, and I just felt like I just didn't feel good. And I was so young, like 22, 23. And I was like getting sick quite often and feeling run down and sluggish and just not feeling good about myself. And I thought, this is not like how I should be feeling. And also my dad has always been very into sports. So he played rugby until he was like 55 or something.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's been quite a sporty background. And I was always encouraged to do sports as a kid as well. And I think I just thought, you know what, I think that's what I'm missing from my life. There were some personal things that happened that were quite tough, that were the sort of catalyst for me actually getting back, being active and getting into the gym. So yeah, just started with running, spinning. And then I saw like all the boys in the weight room and I thought, you know, I grew up with 2 brothers and around a rugby club sort of environment as well. So I was a bit of a tomboy growing up. And I thought, yeah, they're doing that. It looks fun. I want to do it. So I just started like messing around with weights. But it actually took like another 3 or 4 years before I got into powerlifting. And
That's
that
really cool.
was like a whole other journey. Like the sort of like the experimentation with weights kind of took me down a path of like some very unhealthy habits. So I competed in a bikini competition, in 2 bikini competitions, which was like a terrible, unhealthy period of my life. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. It kind of exacerbated a lot of body image issues that I already had. And it took me like quite a while to recover from that. And powerlifting was the thing that really like lifted me out of that.
Amazing.
It just switched my focus from being as small as possible and being as lean as possible to just like getting stronger.
I love that. There's so much there.
There's a lot to unpick.
Yeah. Just like the first thing that comes to mind, I don't know about yourself, G, but like this is a thing that I remember hearing about in school, is like secondary school. But we'd be like in PE class and everyone would be like, oh, when you come out of secondary school, usually studies take over and you don't play any more sports and you don't do anything you don't actively go and play a play a sport, and then you get into work and it just kind of spirals from there. But it sounds like you got into the workplace and realized that you wanted to go back and actually find more of an active thing, right? That's really different.
Yeah. I think it must be something in my childhood that made me think that way. Like some of my best childhood memories are around sports or like outdoor activities, and I think that's something that I was just really missing when I started working. So like my favorite family holiday memories are like being outside at the seaside or the countryside, like playing in the sea. I don't know, just little things like running around.
Love it. Yeah.
Like boisterous. You know, and then I went horse riding as well when I was young. So I'd be there every weekend outdoors, like working. We used to like volunteer and then we'd get to ride the horses for free because we'd been volunteering. So there's a lot of like manual work, like mucking out, carrying like buckets and water buckets.
That's cool, man. Hay bales.
Yeah.
Just the rocky workout when you were a kid.
It really was, yeah. And then like other days we'd be at the rugby club, like running around whilst our parents were drinking at the bar or whatever. And it was just something that I thought, yeah, this is what is missing. Like I'm just waking up, getting on a train, which is a horrible way to start your day. Like it's so stressful. I'm not missing that at all. Yeah, like sitting down at a desk all day. And then if I want a release, everyone that I know is just doing the same things, just going to the pub or going for dinner, and it's just like, and you kind of look around you at people that are like 10, 15 years older, and you think, I really don't want that to be me. Like, I don't want to be just beyond like help, basically. Like,
Yeah.
That's big, because I don't think a lot of people see that, right? You just look at people like 10, 15 years later down the road, you're not necessarily thinking, oh, it's going to be you, because a lot of times we just get the impression it's like, oh no, that's them, that's not going to be me. It's like, no, you're just following the same path. You actually had the foresight to go, oh shit, I'm doing the same thing as them. I could end up like that, and nah, I'm gonna change route.
Yeah, I mean, you would, right? And there's nothing special about me. That would be me. So, yeah.
That's a really realist way of looking at things, and just seeing the subtext and being like, oh shit, this is now my life. Like, do I want this life entirely? Nah, that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really legit. And I think there's a lot of people who, like, for instance, so great, Gorinda, you know this. Like, remember the pub on the corner of your place, Zealand House, Fox and Hound?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're still there, right? Are you still at that same gym?
Oh yeah, not
not right now. When I was
get there anymore. Yeah.
when I was at City, when I was working for UP, that corner would just be rammed 24/7. I remember working through summer and just seeing people like, at lunchtime, like you're saying, Gross, and then like similar people at in the evenings, and you just think like, this is definitely not where I want to be. Like, I remember like kind of getting to work in the morning, and I'd always try and train before work, and then leaving like 7, 8 p.m. and like people would just be crowded the streets, and you think, okay, maybe like once in a while, but it's the same faces you see every single day. And it's like, that's rough. That's rough.
Yeah. I mean, when it's once in a while, it's great fun.
Yeah.
But the thing that's fun about it is that it's once in a while. So it's like an occasion or a special treat. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this tonight and it's going to be great. Yeah. But for it to just be every day, like I know the way that it makes you feel. And considering that I felt that way at like 21, 22, like God knows how I would feel now at 30 if I was still living like that. It would be insane. I can't imagine.
Exactly.
Because
it's like, everybody hits 30 and goes, oh, you know what, it's because I'm 30 that I feel like I'm breaking down.
It's not.
No, it's bullshit. It's like you're going to be a living example of that as well. Because I'm 34 now, but I feel way better than I did when I was 21. I know that as well. I can know that by looking at the body that I had at 21 as well and comparing it to what I've got now. And it's like my bro says, you're Benjamin Buttoning, bro. I'm like, I'll do that.
Yeah. No, definitely. I feel better now than I did 10 years ago. And I'm sure that a lot of people that train would probably say the same thing. And I don't know if anyone that doesn't train would say the same thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's true. If you do, you probably just overtrained and broke it down. But smart about it.
Just like take it to the nth degree. But then that's exactly how people kind of do things as well. And I think you touched on it a little bit as well with getting on stage. Was that your first like exposure to training? Was it like, oh, you went to the gym, and then what led you to going to the gym to getting on stage?
So that's interesting. So I was bullied at school. Like a lot of people called me fat and like thighs, and so I was saying to my friend the other day, actually, like thunder thighs are so in fashion right now, and I used to hate them because people used to pick on me at school, but now they're like giving me a massive squat and I love it. It's great. I used to get picked on quite a lot, and I wasn't, to look at pictures of me as a child, I actually wasn't a very large child, so I don't know why that happened, but it did, and it really impacted the way that I viewed my body, and I literally could not shake it off. So I remember when I was 13, I got really sick. I had glandular fever.
Oh wow!
And I think I weighed about 6.5 stone. But I was like, I've been this height since I was 13, so I should not have been.
How tall are you?
5'2".
Nice.
Like 5'2.5", maybe.
reaching, yeah.
I should have weighed like 8 to 9 stone, and I weighed like 6.5. I was tiny. And I remember going back to school, and I was off for like 2 months, and everybody saying, "Oh, you look so good." Because I literally, like, I was so skinny that my mum saw me taking a bath and she cried because I was that skinny. Like, it was ridiculous. But that was good. This was in like the size 0 fashion days, you know? And that was like, oh, Grace looks wicked, even though I was eating like a slice of toast and an apple a day. Like,
and you're 13 thinking about this stuff.
And thinking about this, yeah, because like we're fed these like really toxic images from, I don't know, I remember feeling fat at age like 9 or 10, like being in costume and feeling self-conscious because we see it all around us. Like if your parents don't actually buy you certain magazines, you see them on the shelves, you see them even in like national newspapers, you know, it's just everywhere. And God knows what it's like for girls now that we have social media. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I always had this kind of like a bit of a complex about my body, I guess. And then when I started training and I started seeing certain changes happening to my body, like at first training was a really healthy thing for me. Like my aim at first was sort of like I'd sign up for 5Ks and 10Ks and like tough mudder type events, and they were like really fun. And I started to see body changes and I started to get compliments from people, and it started to kind of spiral into this like, how far can I take it? And I kind of, you know, I had quite a bad experience with an ex-partner at the time, who would make comments about my body as well. And I kind of thought, well, like everybody glorifies in the fitness industry glorifies these like fitness models. Like if I can be like that, then no one can say anything, you know?
Right.
Like if I set, you know, I know what I'm like with a goal as well. If I set a goal, I'm going to do it. So I like booked a date and said, I'm doing this, then I would end up with that kind of body.
Right.
And I think because I had this goal and I had this like end game, everybody was like, oh yeah, cool, like do it, it's really impressive. But really all it was an eating disorder.
Right.
And it's the same for literally everybody on that stage. Like you can't tell me honestly. I think it's a really unhealthy thing to do.
Yeah.
But because you have this event at the end of it, it kind of gets glorified.
For sure.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so interesting. Getting that inside scoop from someone who's been there, done that.
And what was it like? Who kind of initially was like, oh, you should do the show, and then where did it kind of go from there in terms of training for it, in terms of like dieting for it? Was there like whole kind of, because there is this whole like package around it, like maybe hiring a coach and maybe kind of like getting your outfit sorted, and like you're saying, the whole occasion of it becomes so big, right?
Yeah. So the first person who kind of guided me on that journey was a lady that I met at Crayford Gym. I don't know if you've heard of Crayford. It's quite...
Yeah, the big red gym, right? Is it red? It's like, is it red inside? I think I've heard of it.
I think there is an area of it that's red now. It's like a CrossFit / powerlifting area.
Okay.
But it's sort of like a bodybuilding hub in the southeast. And one of the guy that owns it is a IFBB judge. And this lady, she was like a pro bodybuilder, like the best one in the UK. And she kind of took me under her wing, and she's such a lovely lady, but I just wish that more people had this insight of like why they did it and why I might be doing it. You know, because like if someone came to me now and said that they want to do it, I wouldn't tell them how to do it. I would say, why do you want to do this? Like, what is it in you that needs fixing that makes you want to do this? Because it is like a really grueling process. And I honestly think if you're happy with yourself, you won't put yourself through that.
Right.
But you know, she helped me, and she picked a show for me to go to. And then after a while, her diet methods were absolutely crazy. Like, she told me I couldn't even eat tomatoes because they had too much sugar in them.
Ooh.
So, like, it's such madness. Like, and I was like, no. Like, I
What the
cannot.
fuck?
Pick on tomatoes. Wow.
Yeah, no tomatoes. No almond milk, because I don't know. Like, there was no logic or science behind any of this. And you know, like I said earlier, like, I question everything. So I was like, but why?
Yeah.
And she didn't give me a why. So I hired 2 other coaches who worked together. And the nutritionist that I hired is actually a really good nutritionist. He really knows his stuff. But with the time that I had left, in order to get down to what I needed my body to look like, to be competitive in a bikini competition, because like I don't really do things by halves. So I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it properly. And I was eating like 800 calories a day.
Holy shit.
And doing a weight session and doing
Cardio,
as well.
Wow.
I could not function. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't focus at work. Couldn't maintain healthy relationships because I just had zero energy and totally consumed by thoughts of food. Because it was crazy. Like, when you remove something completely from your life, you become obsessed by it, right? So it was not a good experience at all.
Yeah. That's really interesting, because sometimes it takes, I don't know if you agree with this, but sometimes it takes that kind of hellacious experience for you to then balance it out so well afterwards, because you know the extent of which it can go wrong, and you're like, I don't want anything that resembles this, and sometimes maybe that kind of led you to where you are now, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a really good, I love that word, by the way, hellacious.
Hellacious.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Hella with it's like delicious, hellacious. Yeah.
That is exactly the right word for that situation. But no, it does. And it makes you question things before you do them as well. You know, rather than just saying like, I'm going to do this. And it does make you a bit more wary of like what you sign up for, I guess.
100%.
You said, because I think you've said a couple of things there as well, which, like, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff there. Like, first of all, asking why, and then when you just go one layer deep and you realize that person doesn't actually have the answer, so they're actually just basing everything they tell you on full of shit, basically. And like, I think that's so important for people to understand, especially when it comes to diet, because everybody's like on this flex of, oh, you should be vegan, or you should be paleo, or you should be carnivore, or you should be keto, or you should be this or that, and that's how you're going to get results. And then if you ask why once, usually, and that's enough. But if you ask twice, it's like, why is that important? You realize that the person doesn't actually have a good enough answer for you. And I think that's such a good thing that you touched on, because so many people need to understand that if you're believing a certain thing about your nutrition, that you need to do it a certain way, ask yourself why at least a couple times, so that you can figure out what's actually the right thing for you.
Yeah, definitely. My friend told me the other day about the 5 whys.
Yeah.
And he said, like, if you ask why 5 times, you'll get to the root cause.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, you get the crux of the issue. And maybe it's not 5 for every issue. Like, maybe for diet, you only need to ask a couple of times. But it's the most important question you can ask is why.
Yeah, big time. Because like, then, go on.
Like, people have a very strong want. Like, you had a very strong want, and I personally experienced, I think, G, you can also resonate on this in our own way. But like, we have a very strong want as to, I want to be different to how I am right now, because how I am right now is making me feel a certain way. It's making people judge me a certain way, making them maybe bully me or maybe kind of treat me a certain way. So the want is there, and that kind of makes that fire. But then you don't really necessarily know in which way to direct that, and you come at it with such a head of steam, and then you can kind of fall into the wrong thing, and then you go at it with the same level of passion, and it's just like, oh, this train's going off the tracks, but it doesn't know like where it's going to end up. You know what I mean? That's I think that's such a common thing.
Yeah. I think that happens a lot. I think it's so easy when you're a bit younger as well. And sometimes you feel so unhappy and uncomfortable in a situation, and you just want to be out of that situation, but you don't know where you want to be.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't really take time to reflect, and you can do what I did, and you just think, well, I'm going to do this and it's going to fix it. And it ends up not, you know. And I don't know if there's any way to avoid that, or if that's just part of getting older and like taking more time with things and being more thoughtful.
Yeah, just being a bit more reflective over time. I think because one of the things that we talk about is like it's kind of important to know what you're moving away from, and it's good to get you started, because otherwise you just wouldn't make the move forward. And like, you know, and you do figure it out haphazardly as you go along, which is just one of those things. So, you know, you've arrived at powerlifting now, and it's like, I'm actually in a pretty damn good spot.
Yeah.
And like, actually, I wanted to ask you as well, like, what did you observe with the people who were in that fitness comp, bikini comp world, which you were like, there's something that you wouldn't do it if you were happy with yourself. So what kind of things did you observe that people were trying to either get away from? What hole were they plugging? What were they doing that was kind of not pathological, just not healthy for them?
Yeah, I don't know if I can put my finger on it exactly, but they, you know, there was no sort of variety of conversation with anybody. So that was the be all and end all. It was as if they were kind of burying themselves in diet and exercise to avoid asking any other questions or like spending any time on anything else.
Okay.
And they were just never happy. Like no one was happy. When I went to the first competition, like the person who won my class was happy. I was happy because I didn't have to diet anymore.
Yeah.
And that kind of happy, it wasn't lasting at all.
Right.
The next day, I was like unhappy again because I felt like I'd eaten too much the night before and I'd done all of my hard work. So it wasn't lasting happiness. And I think that's something that I observed across the board. Like people would be happy for an instant if they won, or, you know, because they'd got on stage and they'd had their hair and makeup done and they thought that they looked great. They'd be happy for a moment, but it wasn't lasting. So
was there ever a point during that process where you actually enjoyed it?
Barely, but I'd say like at the beginning, when I was still eating a decent amount of food, I enjoyed having like a new routine, and I was excited about what I was doing. But yeah, no, barely.
Yeah. Okay.
It was pretty awful.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because one thing I'm very curious about is like kind of reward mechanisms and achieving goals and things like that. And then being able to achieve a goal, how does it actually feel? How does it actually change your life? But the biggest thing is enjoying. We're all about the process here. And Umar's name, trust the process.
Yeah, exactly.
And, trust the process, Brown. TTP. That's basically, like, we talk about it a lot, is you got to appreciate the process to be able to appreciate like the wins along the way, so that you actually are happy when you get where you want to get. Internalizing it as much as possible rather than it being about being on the podium. So I wonder, like, so I'm guessing that changed for you when you shifted into powerlifting, like how you approach the process.
Definitely. Well, the process is what becomes your actual life, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is the most important thing. Actually, I just thought whilst you were speaking there, you know, one thing that I did enjoy or feel happy about was when I saw like a lower number on the scales,
Yeah. Okay.
which is just so toxic and terrible. And I just don't think that it's, you know, something that people should be aiming for. Like,
Yeah.
It makes me think like it's a complete stark contrast to powerlifting in the sense that you constantly outsource your emotions and happiness to judges, to the scales, to the mirror, to social media, to your friends, and kind of everything else. Whereas, like it's the Henry Rollins. Have you had that Henry Rollins thing? The iron. Have you read that? Where it's like
No.
20 kilos will always be 20 kilos. So yeah, it will never lie to you. So if you're like, you don't outsource anything. You just, if the barbell comes up, it's done for the day. Like that's my win. That's my kind of, and you can get those repetitions in day after day in, day out. It doesn't ever change. And you know that for you to achieve now, it's just a case of you going downstairs or going to your gym, putting your time in, and it's done. Like that's between you and yourself versus you and the entire world. And you don't know, like that scale could be dodgy, that judge could be pissed off that day, he could not like red, you're wearing red, it's like you're screwed, right? It's like, so it's there's so many variables, right? That
exactly.
and yeah, you're hinging your entire emotional state on that.
And even just the concept of you know, like I didn't realize how awful the concept of judging the appearance of people's bodies is. And now, you know, I'm quite a different person now than I was 5 or 6 years ago. And I just really don't like the entire concept of that. Like it's so subjective. You know, who is saying that this is the desirable body standard and like, this is perfection and anything else is not? Or who, you know, says who? It's just a really odd concept.
Yeah, it's really weird. It is really weird. And I think this is where like bodybuilding nowadays is totally mutated. And like you have people like, I don't know if you know, like who Jim Mannion, who's like the head of the IFBB in the US. And there's videos of him talking about like how he likens it to like going to the zoo, and he's like, everybody wants to see the gorillas and the lions and like the beasts at the zoo. So it's like when they come to a bodybuilding show, they just want to see the freaks. And it's like, these are human beings. These are human beings. Like you're making them change their life because of an ideal that you had. You want to go to the zoo and see the gorillas, but somebody wants to go to the zoo and see the snakes. Like it's like just chill with it, man. Just like let it be what it is. You know, I mean, people should like almost want bodybuilding to be an exhibition and be like, okay, this is what I've been working on. It's an art form. Like, and then this is why everyone talks about the golden days and talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger and Frank Zane and Franco Columbu and all these amazing posers that were there to show off what they've been working on. And it's almost like those guys seemed healthier doing it because they were happier doing it almost, because they kind of presented what they had. They weren't almost looking to the judges or looking to social media to be like, oh, this is what qualifies as me having a physique nowadays. I have to have a 10-inch waist and a 20-inch ass. It's like, what does that mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's so weird.
Yeah.
It was more like there was more diversity in the shapes of their bodies back then. You know, there was an acceptance that we are humans and we're different, and there isn't this one standard of perfection. Because one of the things that really turned me off of bikini competitions was that my coach said that I should get feedback from the judges. So she called my entire prep the bat of the butt. She was like, your butt just won't disappear. Like, it needs to go. And I was like, what? Like, how? And this is why I was doing like so much cardio and literally started. And I was like, well, this is just my body. Like, there's no allowance for differences in people's bodies. Like, I'm going to have to do like 10 times more work to get rid of it than someone that didn't have it in the first place. Like, that's
crazy.
Like one standard. And the judges, they were like, oh, your legs are too big and you're going to have to stop training legs. And I was like, no way. Like, you're going to like remove my favorite part of training so that I can fulfill your standards of what a good body looks like. And that's just that was when I just thought, no, I'm not doing this ever again.
That's wild.
Yeah. At least you had like the wherewithal to be like, nah, this is it, final straw.
Yeah.
Because there'll be plenty of people who go, oh, I want this enough. They think they want it enough and will go for it. And then realize at the end of it all, they sacrificed everything and it wasn't actually worth it. Like, one of the, and if you go back to talking about like, the only thing that matters when you were happy during that journey, the only thing that made you happy was seeing the number on the scale go down, and you said you realize that's toxic. What I feel like there's a lot of people who need to hear this. I think there's a lot of women who need to hear this. What do you feel is important instead? What do you feel is important instead of just looking at that number? Is there a myriad of different things? Is there something that you found which you realize is actually more important and fulfilling? Not just important, but fulfilling.
That's a really big question. I think there are so many things that are more important than what you weigh. Like it's almost one of the least important things. That provided that you're healthy, what you weigh is literally just a number. It really doesn't matter. Like if you're talking in terms of sports, then there are so many other ways to measure your progress. And I think there's something like really empowering for me, especially about thinking about weights going up rather than like your weight coming down. And I think it just like it represents progress, because if you think about your weight coming down, like you can only lose weight for so long. Like where's the end goal? Like at some point you can't lose any more weight. So at what point are you gonna be satisfied? And I think that's something that the bikini competition showed me. Like I was at a point where I couldn't possibly get any leaner and I still wasn't satisfied. So that kind of demonstrates that that's not what was missing. There's something else, because I've gotten to what I think is the end goal and I'm still not happy. So there's something else that needs addressing, and it was never my weight.
I think you can kind of put it on like and say, like in terms of the hierarchy of needs, right? So it's like, do you weigh a certain thing will be off there in the ether? Like it doesn't matter. But then the base of it would just be like, are you happy? Like, are you happy? Like, is any of this making you happy? Like, and like you said, there was only 2 times where it was like your weight would go down and then you would get to have some food, and it was like, or you have some routine, like, and you can then you can kind of look at the subtext. But okay, this person likes routine, but you don't necessarily like losing weight with this routine. Well, then, well, obviously to us it's obvious, but like to somebody out there who's listening that doesn't really understand, or maybe is frustrated with their way, it's like, okay, well, if you're enjoying the routine, then maybe we can just angle that effort toward sticking to a routine, but like you've done, changing the end goal. So the end goal is not, like you said, losing weight, but it's actually gaining strength on the bar. It's actually gaining a different outlook in terms of body composition, becoming stronger for your body weight. There's so many ways of doing this. But like you said earlier, with what's mass marketed is like size 0 and all this other rubbish, which is just absolutely unhealthy in every way.
Yeah. Well, I think as well, like it's interesting with what is mass marketed, because at the moment, like it was size 0 when I was a teenager and that impacted me massively. But now it's almost like it's like a Kardashian type figure, which is mind blowing. Like, because I have never seen a woman in the flesh that looks like a Kardashian. Like, but you have got people out here.
They're not even in the flesh, they're in the plastic, for God's sake, you know what I mean? Like they're not even.
Yeah. So I think that women have to be really mindful of what is in fashion, because like your body is your body and a fashion item is a fashion item, and you can't, like, if you're aiming to look like what is in fashion, what are you gonna like fundamentally change your body like every 5 or 10 years? Like you can't, because you might think, oh yeah, I'm gonna go for this Kardashian look, and then like in another 5 years time something completely different is in fashion. So what are you then supposed to do? Like if your aesthetic is always your number one thought, you're never going to be satisfied.
That's so on point. That's such a good like long-term view on the whole thing as well. You're just like, all right, I know there's another cycle that's going to come around. There's going to be another cycle after that. There's going to be another cycle of what's in fashion after that. And you just got to stop paying attention to that bullshit and just be like, what is it that I want? You know, what is satisfying me and make me feel good, so that I can sustain that as well.
It's kind of that one of one mentality where it's like there is only one like Grace. There is only one like, so I can be compared to somebody else if I want to be compared. But if I don't want to be compared, then what does Grace want to do? What does Gurinder, what does Umar want to do? Like, you're not going to get 2 goes around at this. So just kind of spend this first one being an original, because you are only an original, and that's it.
If something genuinely brings you happiness, just do it. Like don't question it. Just roll with it.
100%. And then that, did you want to lead into like just the powerlifting now? Like, kind of where did that come into it? You just tell you like it because you just light up. You like, and your face just kind of like has that smile. It's just like, oh yeah, powerlifting. Let's go.
When are we going to talk about powerlifting? Why is it taking 50 minutes to talk about powerlifting?
When can I flex again? Let's do that.
It's like, okay. So what was that progression actually from doing bikini cobs and then being like, oh yeah, powerlifting is the one? So you said it was like you went to the gym, you saw people lift it, you're like, yeah, okay, I'd like that. Is that what it was, or was it a bit more of a progression than that?
Well, that was like the sort of at the beginning of the bikini competition journey. And I loved squats. Always loved squats. I was terrible at them for like 3 years, but I loved them. Like when I see videos now of me squatting, I'm just like, oh wow, like so lucky that I'm still in. But I don't know. I think there's like a bit of a rebellious side in me. Like, so when they told me like, oh, you need to stop training legs because your legs are too big, I was kind of no, like fuck this, I'm gonna train them even more. Like, and I thought, like I was kind of had a bit of a natural affinity for squats anyway, and I just started like training them loads. And I followed this, Lane Norton. He had a program online that I found, and I started following that mainly for squats, but it also had like bench and deadlift stuff in there. So I was like, well, I might as well. And then I actually started to enjoy like all 3 lifts. And then I thought, oh, why don't, because I like to have something to work towards. That's just like throughout all of my training, I've always like, initially it was like a 5K run or a 10K. And then I had the bikini competitions, and I needed something else. So I just signed up for a powerlifting competition and found a coach and did that, and just haven't looked back really. I just love powerlifting.
That's brilliant. I think we should qualify for people out there. Like, well, Grace, you can do it because you're the only qualified powerlifter here. But like, what is powerlifting? Obviously, you've touched on the three lifts. Like, what 3 lifts is it? And then what kind of format does a competition take? Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so the 3 lifts are squat, bench, and deadlift. And in a competition, they run in that order. You have 9 lifts. You get a minute to complete each lift. So you have you'll have a flight of lifters. So there's usually between like 7 and 10 lifters in each flight. So each of you will do your first attempt squat, and then each of you will do your second attempt. Each of you will do your third. You can't decrease the weight between attempts. So like you can take the same weight twice if you fail it, or go up by 2.5 kilos at least. So everyone does squat, and then you have like a half an hour to an hour break whilst they do another flight of squat, and then everyone will do bench, and then everyone will do deadlift. So it can take quite a while. Like you could have like 4-ish hours, 4 to 5 hours when you do your first squat to when you do your final deadlift. And then they decide who wins in each weight class by adding up your highest squat, highest bench, and highest deadlift.
That's really interesting. That's so cool. I've got so many questions about the whole powerlifting thing. Firstly, I think my first exposure to powerlifting and like really close exposure was I worked at a gym in Leicester, and there was a powerlifter there, and his name's John Hampson. Have you heard of him?
Don't think so.
He's
I'm not very good with athlete names.
yeah, it's fine. I mean, like he's been ranked. Huh?
Except your own.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know my name.
He's been ranked in the UK as like I think 6th or 7th strongest in I think 105 weight class, and he's been to Worlds. He's an equipped lifter, and yeah, super strong guy. I'm not going to get his numbers wrong by saying them, but like I know he's squatted well over 300 kilos. I know he's deadlifted well over 300 kilos, and benched well over 200 kilos, and just watching him train, like being super meticulous with things and to the point, and obviously that filters through to his clients, filters through to just everything about the guy. And that was my first exposure to powerlifting. Was that something that you noticed early on? And like somebody who's all about the stats and all about the numbers, did you take that from powerlifting and be like, oh yeah, this is something that I align with?
Yeah, so I love the numbers side of it. And I think as well, you said that guy was an equipped lifter, and I feel like I've never tried equipped lifting, but for people listening, like it's almost like a whole new sport. You know, when you said that he's meticulous, like the way that they wrap their knees, and the sort of like choosing a shirt that fits and stuff like that, it's just a whole new level of considerations.
Yeah.
And I think even the way that they lift seems more meticulous as well. Like you see the way that they take the lifts down, like the bench and the squat, and the way that it's so well thought out, and it's really slow compared to like raw lifters as well.
It's totally millimetric, isn't it? It's like because they have to. And this, Grace, correct me if I'm wrong, right? But like the difference between equipped and non-equipped is that you can wear like a suit, a deadlift suit, a bench shirt, and like a squat suit, and then you can have like multi-ply, single ply, which is like the cross weaving of the fibers in the actual suit, and that depending on the level of like of what ply it is, I guess, gives you a different level of support from the actual equipment, and then you're now an equipped lifter.
Yeah. So I think you can add like many kilos the total from lifting equipped. But I've seen a couple of equipped lifters at Bethnal Green. We don't have many, but the stuff that they wear is really heavy duty. Like it leaves grazes and bruises on their skin because it's so tight, and there's so much extra resistance offered by that equipment.
It's hardcore.
Yeah, it's really hardcore. And even like the time that they spend in training, like getting stuff on and off and making sure that it's properly is like a whole next level of dedication. Yeah,
you're putting like 2.5 hours easy into a training session. Like it's a full like, and then think about like the pre-workout meal, the workout, the post-workout. It's like 5 hours. It's like 5 hours of your day. Like whatever you're training is like it's gonna go toward this. So then, like you're talking about it becoming your life. Right.
Yeah. And I don't know if they also put in additional training as well, because when you think of like the volume that they get in wearing that equipment, it must be quite low. So I'm not sure if they have like additional sessions where they don't wear kit. I'm guessing they must do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember seeing John kind of train a lot of like conditioning style stuff. So he would break out his kettlebells from time to time, quite often actually. And then he would definitely have variants. So for instance, he's a low bar squatter. Obviously, most people that squat in suits are. Then he'll have days where he would do front squat. He would do kind of high bar back squat. He would kind of just vary it all the way through. So he's got programmed sessions of RDLs, of Yates rows, of pull-ups and dips and the full lot, you know what I mean? So all the accessory lifts are also there. But then, like you said, because the wearing of the equipment takes such a toll on the body, you've probably got a longer session because you've got to program in other days that are lighter days, and you've got to undulate the periodization and all that stuff. So it's so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
And they might even have like skincare regimes as well, because
of course.
Sometimes when you're like, I have to sort of like file down my calories to make sure my hands, otherwise they're gonna rip all day. And then I see some people when they take off the bench shirt, and I'm just like, wow, like your skin is suffering. Like, yeah.
Yeah, John's got a lovely complexion. I'm gonna tell him to listen to this. He's glowing all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, such a beast, such a hardcore beast. Yeah.
It sounds like skincare for powerlifters.
Yeah, that's like a business idea, maybe.
Exactly. Heard it here first. All right, we're going into business after this. We're going to be talking about
sponsored athlete.
Exactly. Evolve, Achieve, Thrive skincare for powerlifters.
Oh my God, it's happening.
We're just working it out right now as we go.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And like, you wanted to get into some stuff about like how powerlifting kind of works in with like the whole life, right? I think was that the angle of the question?
Yeah, exactly. The process, and just like how did they both feed into each other? Like, so you kind of like clearly you found your happy place. You found a place where it's like, this is the thing for me. And I don't know if you have visions of whether that changes going in the future or what, but it just seems like, you found yourself in a good spot. So how does powerlifting kind of feed into all the other domains in your life, and then vice versa as well? Is there anything that you take from other bits of your life that you put into powerlifting to help you get better at that?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot to learn from having like, I find it weird to refer to myself as an athlete, but like other people do, so I'm going to do it. So routine, like there's a lot of...
What was that? Sorry, what was that? Missed that.
Having an athlete's routine has like a lot of transfer into other areas of your life. So like the biggest example that I can think of is my actuarial exams. So they are notoriously difficult. They have like, each exam has a pass rate of 30 to 40%. And so what they do is they calibrate the pass mark so that no more than that amount of people pass each time. Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah.
They just they'll say like the pass mark this time. What, like there's not a, every time the mark is 65. It will vary between, I don't know, maybe like 55 to 70. They depending on like how hard the exam was. So that, when I graduated and I started doing those exams, that was really disheartening. And I changed careers for a while. And I did underwriting instead, which I quit for other reasons, like we can go into if we've got time, but I don't know if we will. But training as a powerlifter made me realize that actually these like tiny little gains from like consistent small efforts really add up. So that gave me the confidence to restart my actuarial exams. And I thought, like, if I can pick up powerlifting and take it this far without ever really intending to, then why can I not apply the same discipline and same approach to my exams? Like if I just get little bits in the bank all the time, then that will add up on that side as well. So I started them again, and I just had a bit of a different approach. I had like scheduled study times where I would be uninterrupted. So I used to study like in front of the TV or listening to music, and I was like, no, like I don't put the TV on when I'm training. I do listen to music, but it's different. But when I'm training. So when I'm studying, I'm going to be studying. And there's like other little things that I added into my life that supplement powerlifting. Like for example, making sure that I walk anywhere that I can, so that I kind of stay loose and you know, like a bit of active recovery. So I kind of applied a similar approach as well, and I would read my notes on the train. You know, just like little
that.
benefit you. And I just thought, I just need to think about this in the same way that I think about powerlifting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Crossover is so big.
Yeah. And it's weird, like some people just fly through the exams and they don't seem to struggle at all, but I did for some reason, and it was just that like different approach that really helps me out.
I mean, it's like that makes me think that, you know, so you don't get to pick like what lessons that you easily learn and what lessons you don't easily learn, but then there's always a lesson in whichever way you did it. You know what I mean? Like, say, so you've struggled with it, so you're almost meant to struggle with things like that sometimes, but then optimize the process, trust yourself, and then that's the win you take from it, is that the next person that has to chat with you about this or listens to this podcast realize that they can apply the same thing you've just done to their life, and the thing that they've been finding hard, it's just a matter of the process. It's literally just a matter of sticking to it, optimizing it where you can optimize it, cut the fat because you don't need that, and then it just has to go one way. You know, it just has to only ever go one way. You know what I mean? And
It has to.
I love that you've kind of applied one, like, I think G's question was that in the first place, like how is it kind of crossed over, and you've applied it from kilos in the barbell to like pass mark on an exam. Yeah, on an exam.
Yeah.
Like that's so much. Like, for instance, back in school, I remember like not ever wanting to sit an exam, but then being like, "Where's the gym? I'll be there." And then like you've kind of gone to the gym and then learned how to pass your flipping exam. It's like that's the best. That's so good.
Finally, it's like all increments, isn't it? That's all it is. An extra kilo, an extra mark, like just small bits of progress. And I think the other thing as well that's really transferred is this concept of, like, I've heard it said so many times, but I think there's a difference between like knowing something and feeling something, like actually experiencing it yourself and really knowing that it's real. 100%. It's like, you know, this thing about like you only fail when you quit, basically. Like you can't fail if you don't quit. You just got to keep going. Like I've heard like different variants of that said so many times, but it's only with powerlifting that I've really seen it to be true. And that has transferred to like this concept. I was talking to my friend about it the other day, who's nearly qualified as well, that we're actually, I'm not going to say we are because it's like 30% pass rate, right? But qualify next year, like it's going to happen. And it's like, it's so, and I've never allowed myself to think about it before because it just seemed like impossible. You know, you can only do exams once every 6 months.
Wow. You
can only really do 2 at a time because they're so hard. I work full time as well. And there are 15 exams. So I think like this distant, like, it's never going to have, like, one day it might happen, who knows? Like, it's almost like a goal that is too big to think about because it would just put you off.
Yeah, for sure.
Actually, how many exam sit-ins that is. But now it's going to happen, like, very soon. So, like, powerlifting is exactly the same. Like, I remember seeing an under 63 girl like 18 months or 2 years ago squatting 165 at the Europeans and thinking, like, I'm never going to squat 165. Like, what the hell? That's massive. I think my squat at the time was like 135 or something. And I was like, massive. Like, I just can't ever do that. And like, I've done it now. Like, it happens if you just keep going, but not with that specific number in mind, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. That's like hitting beast mode, but it's like, it's just you're not thinking about being a beast, you just keep going, and then you're like, oh wait, I'm a beast.
But doing the work. But but it is it's about the process and enjoying the process rather than focusing on that end goal.
Yeah, 100%. That's so big. Incremental gains, man. It's always, it's like the more I apply that in my life as well. Like, you know, you just wake up on certain days and you just think, And then all I think is, no, actually, if I do one thing that makes me better today than I am yesterday, then great. And then it just keeps spiraling.
Yeah, it's really great.
I love that. I think you said, I can't quite remember what you said, but I can definitely liken it back to something that I think I said last podcast, or whatever. It was that you said that there is no real thing like failure unless you just quit. And that kind of, it makes me think of that Eckhart Tolle quote, where it's like, there is no death. The goal is the goal is to die and realize there is no death. And it's like, basically, like, you fail the lift, the bar's still on the floor, it didn't come up, but then you strip it back, you reassess, you work it back into your goals, you work up the volume underneath it, and then you go for it again, and you do it. So it's like, you failed in the moment, but then overall it's just about like reassessing and then just coming back and realizing you can't actually fail. You just have to think of a new way of doing this. That's it. Yeah.
Actually, that makes me think of like when you're competing as well. Like if you've had a failed lift, and you've got, so there's something there, right? So that's what's interesting is like you've had a failed lift, and then you've got to go out there and you've got to do it again so you can get through to the next level. It's like, what do you do to reset to make sure that that's a thing of the past now, and you're going to execute the next lift, and that's all you're thinking about.
So I think anyone that has like seen me lift at several competitions knows that my speciality is failing my opening squat.
Oh, right.
Like way too many times. I can't even tell you how many times it's happened. So the
key to success is fail your first squat.
Definitely not. Like, it's so terrible. It's not going to happen anymore. I'm saying that now. I get so nervous, and I must have done, I don't know how many squats I've done in life. It must be like tens of thousands. But for some reason I get so nervous that I forget how to squat.
Okay.
Mess it up. So like it's always depth. I always get so nervous that I cut the depth. Right. So I did that at the British, and it was really disappointing because I wanted to take the British record at the British this year. So that was 170. So I was going to take 170.5 for my final attempt. So I was meant to go like 157, 165, 170.5. But I had to take 157 twice because I cut it on depth for the first time. And I knew that I'd done it. Like literally, you can see my face in the video, and I just knew that I'd done it. And I was like, fuck, like, awful. And then my coach was just like, "You're doing it again." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." And I just walked off, had a bit of a sulk, like away from the other competitors, like listened to some music, sat there by myself and just kind of visualized doing it right, and just like walked myself through how it's gone before and how it's going to go this time. So it's about really getting into my own headspace, and like that day at the British was quite bad for me as well for like personal reasons, and it really threw me. And like the two competitions that I'd had before that, I'd actually gone 3 for 3 on squats. So you know, I was kind of breaking
breaking the trend,
and then it happened again because I just let things like get into my head a bit. So yeah, it's
amazing. That's so cool that you get to kind of like fail and then go and face that failure and then just get back on the platform and be like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it anyway. And that's so powerful. That's so powerful.
Yeah, I think it's also like asking yourself, what is the alternative? Because I think that's a big deal. Like the alternative, you know, you've trained for something, you trained really hard, and then you're there, and you can either go for it again. It's a weight that you know you can do. You've done it like many times in the gym. You can either go for it again and stop being scared of it, or the other option is to just fail and just scrap all of those months of training that you've done, and that's not really a viable option. So
it's kind of like putting into perspective for yourself. And then, so is there a ritual that you have to help you get yourself back into that space? You're talking about, like, you know, okay, you had that little sulk and you visualize, is that the main thing, or is there other bits to it as well which you do to help you execute?
Yeah, no, I think that's the main thing, because you've only got, like I said before, once you have failed that lift, you've only got like about 7 minutes to get your head back in the game. It's not long. So I've got like a playlist that is my kind of go-to, and I'll pick something that I feel like is going to get me back in the game, and I'll just like isolate myself from anyone else so that I can just get my head back in the zone. There's not really anything that anyone can tell me at that point in time. Like there's nothing that I need to hear. Like I've competed enough times that I know what I need to do.
Very cool.
That's powerful. That's powerful, because like you again, it's back to that same thing of not outsourcing anything and not needing somebody to tell you anything, because you've taken it upon yourself all those times to get in the gym, put the bar on your back, go down, come up, go down, come up, go down, come up. This is, and I think another thing that might be going over people's heads maybe is that's 2.5 times your body weight, more than 2.5 times your body weight, right? That's ridiculous. That's like, even to say, like, in the history of females who are your weight, you are quite literally up there as the strongest, one of the strongest ever in that. In the UK right now, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely bonkers. Like, I love it. I love it. And that's
cool.
yeah, fuck not training legs, right? Like, watch me train these legs.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm sitting down right now. I just want to sit a squat now. Like, this is bad. I'm just inspired to squat my ass off.
But it goes to show as well what happens if I followed other people's opinions of what my body should look like, then what would I be doing? Like starving myself and doing long distance running, which I was never going to be good anyway. Like,
that's interesting, man. That's so true.
There's because you've done that basically since you started powerlifting. It was 3 years you've been powerlifting.
Yeah, I did my first. Oh, actually, I did my first competition in May 2017.
Okay, wow. Yeah.
So I'd say I probably started training for that in like January 2017.
Okay, right. Because that's, I mean, by any standards, that's really quick progress. What do you think has been that key to making such quick progress?
I think there's a few things. So when I started powerlifting, first of all, it's not the first time that I'd picked up a barbell. Like my technique was absolute trash, but I had built some kind of physique, and some kind of muscular like development before that. I think I just walked like straight into the gym so much.
Yeah. You had the base for it already.
Yeah. And I think like some people have told me that, like, my old coach always used to say to me that I'm built for squatting, which basically means I've got like short, chunky legs. Like, squatting. There's a certain, amount of that. But I think really it's just, I can't even tell you like how many sessions I've missed in a program. I must have, in the whole 3 years, I've probably missed like 4 sessions. Like, if that.
Wow. And what kept you away on those 4 occasions?
So if I'm sick, that's literally it. Illness.
Okay. So basically, you're rarely getting sick these days as well.
Well, exactly, yeah. And I used to get sick quite a lot. And I've just got a weak immune system, but it wasn't. It was because I wasn't looking after myself. I used to basically catch every cold going.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah. There's so many people out there who need to hear that. Just through being that meticulous with the routine, and like I can't speak to anything on that level because I've not competed. I've not kind of been there, but I can speak to showing up at the gym every single day and being like, and to that level almost where like across 2 to 3 years, where it was like I know I didn't miss more than 6, 7 sessions, and that was like I wanted to be there every day. I wanted to be there literally every single day, and I'm sure you know, both of you. I know both of you know what that's like, and I think people just need to experience that. Like you see people kind of like you said at the start. You said you're nothing special. You're nothing kind of like different. You're just somebody who just applies herself, and that's literally it. It's literally it, right? I need to look at the progress you achieve. Look at like kind of the levels of happiness, and then the kickback on the back end is just that you're literally unfuckable with when it comes to getting illnesses and like being happy and like kind of owning your own life. It's like it's just small things like kind of living the life I want to live just because I showed up every day and did the work. Like I have a great time because I'm consistent. And it's like that what's that phrase? Discipline equals freedom, right? So like you're disciplined to a point, and then that gives you the freedom on the back end to just live the way you want to live.
Yeah.
100%.
Brilliant.
I love that. There you create a new phrase there as well, man. Every time I'm training, I'm going to be thinking, I want to be unfuckable with.
I like that.
Just get out of the wall. Get out of the wall.
I've got to have a quote board of all the Umars I've learned over the last 13 weeks of having these podcasts.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I might write on my chalkboard when I train.
Get it. I've got a whiteboard over here. I don't want to take the camera because my room is a bit too messy. Sorry. Right, but I'll put this on the Evolve Achieve Thrive Instagram page, and it's the whiteboard that my 2 flatmates from London last year. We just wrote random quotes on there, and one of my flatmates' friends, Chris, he came around for the weekend when we weren't even in, and he just started writing quotes on this board, and they're all so empowering. You just read them and you think, I've got such a fire in my belly. And the one that I say it to G all the time is never stray from the way. Such a simple quote, but it's like it's such a like your path. Just stay, right? And that encapsulates you so well. Like kind of never straying from your path, and like look at how well you've done with it.
Yeah,
brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah,
tell me this, Grace. Right? So sorry, go on.
I think like I really like that quote, by the way. I think it's grounding. I think I'm gonna write that up as well. But it is, like you said, I know my way, and I think there is a lot of temptation in life for us to stray from our way and to do what other people think we should be doing. And I think it feeds back into what I said about when something makes you happy, don't question it. Just go with it. And I think especially like as a woman in strength sports, I have faced like so many challenges from other people. Like, why are you doing this? You don't, especially when I started, less so now that I'm more established and the circles that I move in are different. It's other people that are involved in strength sports. But when I first started doing it in a commercial gym, I would get so much nonsense from people talking about like, oh, like you don't want to be doing that. That's not for women, or you don't want to get too big. And I was like, well, I don't care. Like, I'm just enjoying it. So I'm going to keep doing it.
That's ridiculous, because it's like there's a lot of women out there who already have that complex about, I don't want to get too big if I strength train. And then there's people saying it on top of that. It's like, how hard it is for that to happen. It's whatever. It pisses me off.
Yeah. It's really hard to just like break free of that and just say, well, I don't care. Like, I enjoy it. I don't care about anything else, about how it might make me look or how you're going to perceive me. I'm just going to do what feels good. Yeah.
And then you shifted your environment, so you just moved somewhere where that just wasn't a thing, right?
Yeah, it's not a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the other cool thing is like you've been doing this, and you've just upgraded the circles that you hang in as well, because you're like, all right, I'm moving in this direction. I'm going to end up hanging around with people who get it as well.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
Help me excel as opposed to hold me back.
Yeah, exactly.
What was that like? Was there was there ever a point where there was some people who you thought you didn't actually want to move away from, but you had to if you just wanted to keep excelling?
I think there have been like relationships that I have moved away from. Yeah. I think when I first started training, there were a few friendships that kind of fell to the wayside because they didn't really, you know, like I said, I used to be like heavily involved in this whole city drinking culture. So I kind of lost most of those friends because I just stopped seeing them because I was spending time in the gym instead of in the pub. And those friendships were really just about like, who is my drinking buddy? Yeah. And so like there wasn't any kind of like fallout or animosity. I just literally stopped being interested in them and they stopped being interested in me because we were doing different things. And then I think, no, other than that, I don't think, you know, I've got some like really good friends that aren't into lifting at all, but they have like a similar level of drive for something else. I don't think you necessarily need to be involved in the same thing. You just need to have an understanding of what it's like to have a passion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about that as well. It's just hanging out with people. Like we mentioned it like some podcasts back as well. It's like our group of friends who do jiu-jitsu are so different. And I live with two other people who I've met through jiu-jitsu. You know, one's Turkish, one's English, there's me. One's doing a PhD. One does something in IT, which nobody can still understand. Matt, I know you're going to hear that. And then then there's me who's a trainer. You know, we're all from different backgrounds, but there's this thing that we do which kind of binds us together. But it's not even so. There's that community thing, but then there's like, but the thing is also like the values that you have as people.
Yeah.
So like we're all different people as well, but it's the values that you have, and you can align with those values. And it doesn't matter if you got like broadly different things that you're interested in, but because you got those values, you can get along. And so it's like you have those people, you have those values, you align yourself with those kinds of values, and then then everything's kind of is fine, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like the same focus. It's just more of a characteristic.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
You've all got skin in the game, right? You've all got kind of like war wounds almost. Like you're just sitting down after a long day, you're just like, oh, I'm super tired. It's like, what have you been doing? Oh, well, I've been lifting a barbell. What have you been doing? Oh, I've been training a client. Or like, it doesn't matter what it is. So I've been coding, or I've been doing something that just you're willing to just bleed for, right? That's the thing. It's super important. It sets people apart, right? I think this is why the subtext behind like why you've kept and why you've lost particular friends sometimes is because some people are just not on that wavelength, and then or maybe they are, but in something that's totally different. I remember going to the gym once on a Sunday morning, and my mates waving to me, and me being like, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" And they were like, "Oh, where you going?" I was like, "Oh, I'm just going to the gym." He was like, "Where are you guys going?" "Oh, we're just going home from a night out." It's like, oh shit, like that's what we're doing. We're both out, but it's like totally different. Sunday morning, like 7 a.m. It's like I'm going to the gym, you're going like home to sleep. So completely, totally.
But it really is a kind of like personality difference, because like, I remember when I was at a commercial gym, even the gym staff would be like, "Oh, were you here yesterday?" Or like, "Oh, you're doing squats again." Like, even though they actually worked in a gym.
Yeah, it's like, we want to see you back. That's what it should be.
Yeah, like it's not the thing that you're involved in, it's how much passion you have for it.
Yeah.
You know, because they worked in a gym, but they still didn't have the kind of level of enthusiasm that I for it.
And it just shows it doesn't even need to be a lifelong pursuit. It just needs to be, okay, I found it, I'm staying with it now. I found it now. Now I'm showing you my real character. Even though I've been doing this for a year, you will see me every day doing this for the rest of my years. Like that's something that's a banker, right? Like kind of, whereas somebody else, you'd be like, oh yeah, I wear the t-shirt that says personal trainer, but I'm really only training at weekend and I just train biceps, and it's like cool bro. It's like, no one cares.
Bro life. The bro life.
But I think you can see the difference personal trainers as well. Like that comes across, whether they are someone that does it because they love it or because they thought, well, what else am I going to do? I might as well do this. Like,
the litmus test is stand in front of Grace and tell her about your workout. And then if you can get through the whole thing and like not shit yourself and not feel super embarrassed, then you can talk. But if you can't, then get your ass to the gym right now.
Yeah.
If you're a PT,
I'll see myself out then.
You train. You know you train. Oh, man. You see that? Like, see people that just kind of make the industry like such a weird place, and it's like you need to figure it out because this is not working.
Yeah. It's a young industry, man. It's going through some serious growing pains as well, I think. And then there's something I'm curious about as well. So I work in. So a lot of my forte over the last 4 years has been injury rehab, right?
Yeah.
You don't seem like you've been plagued by injury at all, and if you've only been like 4 training sessions, so it's like that to me is like, yes, this is amazing. Somebody who trains smart. That's what it sounds like. And I just see if somebody's going on an endeavor, they just brutalize themselves, right? And then they're gonna break down. The knee hurts, their back hurts, whatever it is, and then they just they have to start. They're not bothering to see someone about it. They get caught up in this horrible loop, and then they just kind of give up on it. But you've managed to. It looks like you've managed to avoid that. Like, what is it about your routine, or what have you made sure that you stay away from injury? If you do get it, you manage it properly.
Yeah. So I did have a brush with injury before Western Euros. So about 4 weeks out of Western Euros, I did something to my SI joint. And that was because I was training like an idiot. So it's like, it was entirely my fault. And I went to have a session at Crayford away from Bethnal Green and got like encouraged to go for a PB when it was not in my program, which is just, I don't know why I did it. I shouldn't have done it. I haven't done it before, but I did it. And at the bottom of a squat, I felt something just like snap in that area. Like I finished the squat, I came back up, but then I just like collapsed on the floor and I was like, oh my God. The next day I couldn't walk. I got out of bed and I literally couldn't stand up straight. And I was like, oh my God, I got my first international in 4 weeks. And I've just like fucked myself basically. Like, what have I done? So anyway, I went to see like my sports massage guy. A friend brought me like a massage chair. I did like a lot of stretching, spent like half the day in like a fetal position on the sofa because, you know, with your SI, the only way that you can relieve the pain is to kind of round your back.
Yeah, like, depends on what injury you got. Yeah, so that was so that's what you had to do to relieve it. Yeah,
so like bringing my knees into my chest, but yeah, I mean that's the lesson, isn't it? I went off program and I injured myself. Like
straight from the way.
Yeah, straight from the way. Yeah, doing what other people have encouraged me to do, not doing what I know is best. And I think that is the lesson. Like, stick to a program, find a good coach, stick to the program, be patient. You know, there's going to be a lot of your training blocks are going to be boring. If what you enjoy is sort of like posting big lifts on Instagram, a lot of it is going to be like boring volume work.
Yeah.
That
just post my 10 sets.
What's that?
Let me just post my 10 sets.
Yeah.
No one wants to see me do that for half an hour.
Yeah. But that's what training is like most of the time. That's what makes you stronger. That's what kind of drills good form into your head. That is where the progress is. And that is why it's so important to do it for the process and not for like the highlight reel, because most of the time it's going to be you on your own in the gym doing hours of what, if you don't love it, seems like boring work.
Yeah.
It's exactly like you're taking it back to G. I know exactly what G's thinking. He's thinking that. Say we have this video that we watch that gets us like super hyped up. I got to send you it, Grace, right? And it's just about this guy in the gym, and he's running hurdles, and he starts off the video, and he's like warming his hips up, and he's doing some kind of like gait cycle movements to open his hips, and then kind of go the other way, and then he eventually starts to clear a hurdle by stepping over it, and then he starts running over it, and it's the same as what you're talking about in your own field, like starting off with the empty bar and then just loading it and going through it, and then he's the guy who's voicing over the videos is just talking about like being in love with the process, being in love with like kind of people like just want to score and be like in the limelight. It's not about that. It's about kind of loving the process. It's about being literally, he says like you're in love with the process. You got to kind of it's got to excite you, right? And that's where all the work, that's where the real work gets done.
Yeah, just talking about it is firing me up, because I know that's another one now. That's like 2 minutes. I know that speech now. I know it. So I don't have to watch the video. I just have to start going on a run and just saying it in my head.
Right. Yeah. It's dangerous, man. It's dangerous. You can't put that on. Well, Grace is gonna go train after this. So
I'm gonna train after this. Yeah.
We're getting you G'd up. Just Go get it.
Yeah.
All right.
It's sick. For me, the biggest pump is like the last 2 minutes of that video, where he starts talking about the process, and it's getting me jacked. I'm going to train after this as well.
Yeah, you have to get it in. You have to get it in. I've trained already. I trained this morning. I trained twice, 2 sessions this morning. But I'm gonna do something this evening. I've got a meal with my family after this. But then after that, I'll get out and I have to do something, because I can't go sleep knowing that you two are both trained and I haven't. I haven't got something in after this. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, just go back to what you're saying. You just sticking to the program, making those incremental gains means you're training smart, means you're avoiding injury. And then the one time you do get something where you're like, oh shit, this is going to throw me off, is because you strayed from the way, and then you just pulled yourself back in, and everything's been good since then.
Yeah. Just about being sensible. And especially with something like powerlifting, having a good coach is really important. Because you need, I don't know, maybe you could research it yourself and find out how to peak properly for a competition, but it's the weight that you're unprepared for that will injure you. And you really need to know like how to prepare your body to perform on a particular day.
Who is your coach, Grace?
Callum Barney, so it's CJB Strong.
Nice. That's and how long have you been with him?
Since December.
Brilliant.
So I was looking for a new coach to go into the British. So my previous coach is, Martin at Bethnal Green.
Yeah. Remember Martin? Yeah.
So like really lovely guy. I quite like to learn new things from different people. So Martin really helped me like make a lot of progress in powerlifting. Like Bethnal Green was the only powerlifting gym that I've ever been a member of. So he was my coach for about 18 months, and then I kind of started plateauing, and I thought, maybe I can learn something else from someone who has a different approach. And the programming is quite different. And now like it's working really well for me.
Nice. That's awesome. I remember being at the environment at Bethnal Green. That's something that I'd love to talk about, because it's so we chatted about it a little bit off air, but it's just a wild place, and I love it. I absolutely love that place.
It's awesome. There's nowhere else like Bethnal Green.
No, it's so weird and hidden, isn't it? It's like you got all these like fruit market stalls and like random TV sales shops, and then around the back you can just hear it. I remember the first time I walked up, and you can just hear like the clunk of a barbell getting dropped on the floor, and like somebody loading a plate, and like you can just hear like someone laughing or whatever, and you walk in, you can smell like work. That's what you can smell. It's not like a smell, but it's just like people been at work in this place, right? And then you just see all the abundance of bars and abundance of plates, and obviously the equipment's all like, it's all authentic. Like, it's not calling it old or calling it worn out is a disservice. It's completely authentic to the work. And obviously you see the people, and they're just exactly the same. And I remember, that's where I remember seeing you. I'm sure I remember seeing you there once, at least once. And
You must have been there, yeah.
yeah. We talked about it, like, kind of, I was in the weightlifting side, and I only went there kind of intermittently before around work, because at the time I was like fully engrossed in what I was doing. Being a PT, coincidentally, but not actually training, which is the worst. Training people, but then like training myself to an extent, but also looking for that thing that felt right. And I think that's a lot of what you spoke about today. And but yeah, that place, if any place has ever felt right as a gym, that place feels right.
Yeah, you can't really describe it. It's so funny though. The things that you just described are like the exact same things that are sort of like conjured up in my head when I think of it. So I actually went there like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Yeah, so me and a friend went to buy coffee from one of the coffee shops near there, and there's like it's really hard to park around that area, but you can park near the gym. So we were like, let's just park there. And then we saw Martin's car outside the gym, and I was like, oh my god, it's Martin's car. So we knocked on the door, and he was just like, who is it? I'm not coming. We're like, no, we're not coming in. It's all right. Like, we stayed at the door and said hello, but I was like, oh, this place, like the smell, and just like, when you're sort of like walking up towards it after work and you can hear the weights clanging, and it sort of like really gets you into that zone, like, oh, I'm here, like, you know, all the tiny little bits of the process leading up to your training session.
And then like G, you were talking about it earlier, like when you start to distill away some of the other people that don't quite fit, then you end up in this one place where everybody is about it, and it's like, that's that place. Like, everybody in there is in there, otherwise they just don't last. And like, sadly enough, I couldn't last that place, because it was like I was moving between work, and then that was when I transferred from working in Shoreditch to working in Mayfair, and the trek was just too difficult in between. I could have made it, but it was just with work being super crazy. But when you're there, you're just surrounded by people that clearly want to be there, that invest time there, that everybody wants to see everybody do well in that place. And it's a really nice place, really, really cool place. You got to, at some point, you got to check it out, G, because it's
you have to.
You'll get it for sure.
Better start getting my lifts up.
Yeah, man. Yeah, super inspiring, man.
Yeah, it really is. I think last year, they had 8 lifters from Bethnal Green at Worlds.
Wow. Do you know who I remember from there? I can't remember any of their names, but I remember a lot of them kind of talking about it while I was there, and you get chatting to gym. And this is the thing, is like, gym culture. People think that they know what gym culture is because they train at Fitness First. It's like, you haven't got a clue.
No idea.
You haven't got a clue. You haven't got a clue about like working in. You haven't got a clue about, give me a spot. You haven't got a clue about like just the camaraderie around, and then like just the genuineness. Like there is no dickheads in that gym. There's no like ego lifters in that gym, because it just can't exist. It can't happen, because there is a process. There is not just you're not just there to be a poser. You know what I mean? Like, I feel super blessed to have ever been like able to train in that kind of a gym, or even just kind of recognize it. You know, you kind of like without wanting to be just to go to any old gym and feel, oh, this is cool. Like, I'm not anybody who can just go to a hotel gym or whatever. But when you go to that place, you realize that this is just a different beast. It's totally different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a special place. It really is.
Yeah. There's not many places you'll ever come to like that, and then you come across it just like, wow, this kind of places actually exist. Like where you can just kind of be super basic, and then you go to the changing rooms, and the changing rooms are just a bench, like just a bench, and lucky if you get a toilet that locks. But then you just like, I'm not really here for this. I'm just here for like, for the barbells, the plates, and all the advice. It's super cool.
Yeah, like there's nowhere better. I know there was a gym near my office that was like 3 times the price of the membership of Bethnal Green, and it just doesn't even scratch the surface of Bethnal Green. Like, close.
No. You hear about it in like old wrestling terms, G, when it's like you couldn't lace the boots of this guy. You could like you just can't. You can't even like. You ain't got a chance. No, that's such a sick place. Yeah, I don't know who. it's who started it or like what the history behind it is, but it just seems super authentic.
Yeah, so I know it started in 1926.
Wow.
It says that on our t-shirts.
Uh-huh.
I don't really know like who started it. I'll find out though. I'll let you know.
Yeah, do so.
But there's some people that have been there for so long. Like I know Ernie Parks is still breaking, like he's well into his 70s and he's still breaking like masters world record. And I know like he's one of like the OGs, like from, obviously not from 1926, but I think he's been there literally his whole life. And I think there's a few of like the older boys that train during the day that are like that as well.
Brilliant.
It's a long time. Yeah.
Super cool. Such an establishment. Yeah. That's it. That's kind of almost the legacy you're gonna kind of lead on to wherever you go. You will take a bit of that DNA with you, and like that's what you kind of know, right? That like people will look at you. For instance, if you rocked up to a gym with your bag, with your wraps, with your belt, with everything, everyone knows. Oh shit, this ain't no regular human. Like this is a bit of a different. This is going to be a different kind of like we're in for something good here. You know what I mean? That's the aura you'll kind of carry because of the stuff you've done, because of the places you've been. Yeah, it's yeah. What is it, G? Super necessary is what it is. That's
super necessary.
Super necessary. It's just a random quote we picked up from this UFC fighter, and both of us love it. So it's just like necessary, but this is like super necessary.
It actually organically comes up every single podcast. We'll say something, we're like, super necessary. You're like, oh shit, we just said it again.
So I'm going to try and fit hellacious and super necessary into a conversation this week.
It's your vocabulary. They'll just organically.
Exactly. Yeah. And then just like as soon as it's done, you just message us. You're like, I did it.
Wicked.
Shall we? We've got a question from one of our listeners.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, exactly. This is my housemate Matt. So appreciate the question coming in. I think it was something that we wanted to cover, but actually, surprisingly, I think this is actually a good natural point for it to come in as well, because I was going to ask you, you're talking about obviously all the guys that you've been training with and how everybody's like super cool. And so it's about like the two male dominated environments that you basically are succeeding in, right? So it's like, so the question is, having achieved success in two male dominated environments, what challenges and obstacles did you face and how did you succeed despite or because of them? And how did the attitudes in these two different domains differ?
Yeah. So this is a really interesting question. I like this question. So I would say that despite what people might think, the strength training world in particular, I don't know if I've just been lucky with Bethnal Green. I'm going to talk about like British powerlifting in general. Seems to be like a really welcoming space for women. And I think that might come as a surprise to people that are not in that world, because like strength sports are often perceived as like a real male dominated arena. And I think like from what I've observed though, like for example, like trouble that I've had like on social media from people kind of like mansplaining how to do things, and
you've got video.
Sorry?
Like you posted a lift on social media or something, and then there's a dude trying to tell you how to do it.
Yeah. Or in like commercial gyms, for example, it used to happen all the time in commercial gyms, but like it's never happened in Bethnal Green, which is a proper strength training gym. And I find that really interesting. Like the people that are actually in strength training, I've overwhelmingly seen like a really positive and encouraging response for women in that arena. And people just like both men and women just wanting to see us do well, and sort of like being able to appreciate female strength, and no desire to sort of say like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this or you should be doing it this way. But it's people that are outside of that world that have been more problematic when it comes to that. So like I've had way more, like in Bethnal Green, there are people that are better lifters than me that have been doing it for longer that could definitely teach me things. but they won't give unsolicited advice. You know, it will be me, you know, if it's welcome, then it's welcome, it's fine. Whereas in a commercial gym, you've got the complete opposite. Like, I will often be the best, most accomplished, most experienced lifter in there, but I will get a ton of unwanted advice from men that assume that I don't know what I'm doing.
How do you actually deal with that? Because I've got this image in my head of you just going, yeah, and then racking up 165 and just like carrying it up.
Basically, I just think, like, you know what, like, I'm just gonna let my lifting do the talking, and you can be embarrassed when. And it's like they'll always come when you're kind of warming up. You don't, when you've got like 60 kilos on the bar or whatever, and they're like, oh, this woman doesn't know what she's doing, let me go and I don't know if it's like, if they want to talk to you. Like, I think sometimes they're like trying to chat you up, and they just think like, oh, this is how I can get in. Like, let me see if she wants a hand. And then, like, after a while, like, no one has ever approached me when I'm squatting 140. Like,
love it.
You know what I mean? Like,
everything for the last 2 minutes has just made, like, you can see me curling up. I'm just cringing inside. I'm like,
yeah.
But that's
like, the
amazing.
most I've had then is like someone asking me, oh, what do knee sleeves do? Or, you know, find some other reason to come and talk.
Yeah, okay.
Because when you're racking 140, they just cancel their gym membership. They just log in and be like, I don't need this anymore. I need to leave.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
I can tell someone that do something. Nah, I can't.
Yeah. But no, you get some really, like, in Bethnal Green, everyone is cool, and I think like there's other powerlifting gyms as well, like Built Differently is another really good one. But
oh yeah, I've heard of him.
I never really got to go there much because it's quite far from my house. But I like, that's another environment as well where women are just like left in peace to train, basically. But commercial gyms are wild. Like, you've really got to like prep yourself for it. Like, right, I'm going in there, I'm gonna get a ton of shit, and I'm just gonna like keep my head down or have some fun with it, depending on like how you're feeling on the day.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a different environment. Totally
different.
What I was just gonna say is, like, you think you're like, yeah, you know, you're gearing yourself up for a hard workout, but the hardest thing about it is the people around you.
Yeah.
It's like, it's ridiculous.
It used to get to me quite a lot sometimes. I used to have this thing on Instagram that I called Creep of the Week.
No.
Because I used to film my videos like when I was training outside of Bethnal Green, like, just, you know, because I had no one looking over them for me, like, who knew what they was doing, and I used to film them to see like how I was getting on. And this big guy, like, in somewhere in the background, lurking, like, either like perving on me or like looking with kind of disgust, like, what is she doing, or just like pure shock.
Wow.
Out.
I love it.
Always someone.
That was brilliant.
That's hilarious. Creep of the week. You missed that in your home gym now. You're like, oh, there's no picture of.
Like, I need to invite like some men off the street to feel more authentic.
That slowly goes downhill.
Yeah.
So how is that world different to the actuarial world? Because that's another heavily male dominant environment, right?
Yeah. And actually, I would say there's a similar situation going on in insurance, where like you could kind of draw a parallel with insurance and commercial gyms. And then the actuarial world and Bethnal Green, like,
wow,
the actuarial world is a bit more of a meritocracy, and, you know, generally like women are more respected for their qualifications and the work that they do. There are still problems, but like, it is one of the safer spaces within insurance. I think like you'll find actuarial is kind of more diverse in terms of like gender and race, and then insurance is just like, it's still like an old boys club.
right.
so yeah, definitely working as an underwriter, like that was one of the things that really pushed me back into actuarial, because I was like, no, like I am not going to succeed here.
Right.
Like, to succeed in that as a woman, especially, you know, I can only speak from my own experience, and I was there for 2 years, and it could have been just the people that I came across, I don't know, but I would have had to really like lose sight of the person that I am. You know, like social events, laughing at like really inappropriate things, and being center of attention for all the wrong reasons. Just accepting like comments that made me feel really uncomfortable. Yeah, it was just, it's not a good environment. It's definitely a tougher environment to exist in than the world of strength sports as a woman. Which,
that's so interesting and so deep, because like, sorry, were you going to say something else?
yeah, it might be surprising to some people that it's the insurance is the worst, the worst of the.
Okay.
No, so that's I don't think that's surprising, because like it's 2 weeks in a row, well, 2 guests in a row that have said a similar thing with Jude last time, talking about how when she was working in the Ministry of Sound, it was just like very, very much like kind of a almost like a overly aggressive, like and doesn't really need to be that way. People trying to stake their claim over certain things and like kind of push their masculinity forward, where it's just like, and because you're trying so hard with it, it almost comes across as very, very emasculine, very, very insecure, and yeah, and that's same thing you're saying here, right? So it's yeah, it makes a lot of sense that, you know, I bet we see that trend across a lot of different professions. And yeah, well, what would you say to someone, Grace, like that's in that kind of headspace that you were in? And because I've come across it working with PTs, I'm sure you have as well, G, and I'm sure you've got friends the same who say the same thing, G, Grace. In that, if they're in that kind of position, same as you were, what would you do? And how would you kind of learn to recognize that and not kind of continue to accept that as your life?
I think it takes quite a lot of self-confidence to recognize that, and to resist the urge to kind of like change yourself for an easier life. And I do feel like powerlifting is something that actually helped me to do that, like really helped me to kind of find my identity, and to I don't know, like it was definitely confidence boosting. It made me feel capable. It made me feel strong and empowered. And it made me feel like I don't who are these people? Do you know what I mean? Like you go into a gym and you see like men that are clearly intimidated by your physical strength, and then you've, on the other hand, you've got men at work that kind of want to walk all over you because they think you're just a young woman, and what do you possibly know? And then it's kind of interesting to see like the difference in the power balance depending on whether you're in the gym or you're at work. And it does make you question things. It makes you think, well, like, am I actually someone to just be walked all over, or am I in another environment? Would I be like intimidating to these people? And it makes you kind of think like, no, I don't have to accept this. I don't have to like be quiet and that makes me feel uncomfortable. You know, like it is scary though, because like for me, I decided I'm going to move back into actuarial, where I will be more respected for my qualifications and my skills than for like how well I go along with these shit jokes at dinner or whatever. Or like who I know, and who you know is always about who you get along with, and in that kind of culture that involves like dropping a piece of yourself basically. So that there is that risk there, like someone just has to be like brave enough and comfortable enough to say that I'm going to take this jump. And obviously there's no guarantee when that culture is overwhelming, there's no guarantee that the next place is going to be any better than the last.
Sure.
But I think things have definitely changed for the better, like even in the last 5 years, like with the whole Me Too movement, there is a lot more space for women to say like this is not acceptable, and people actually listen. So I think it has become a bit easier for women to say like, I'm not going to put up with this at work.
That's big. That's
Yeah.
big. Yeah. It's almost like you kind of you found your strength in powerlifting, and then it didn't encumber you in any other thing in your life. Like you knew who you were. You kind of saw that, and then it didn't really matter what setting you could put yourself in. You were like, no, this is who I am. I know my strength.
Yeah.
I know what I'm capable of, and you can almost return to that, and almost like go and chase that with your career, go and chase that with your friendship circle, and it just helps you kind of stay centered, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Love it.
Not sure how it does that, but I guess that doesn't really matter. It's just the fact that it does.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just one of my clients said it to me once. We were shooting a video testimonial, and I remember it. I think I cited it last podcast. It was Lee, and she was talking about how if you do like one rep of a certain weight that you potentially didn't think you could do, it's like an achievement, right? So like that rep is an achievement, and then you come off of it and you would do some volume work across this body part, across that body part, and say you end up with 3 sets of 10 and 3 sets of 12. It's like all of those reps are little achievements, and that you've left that place of achievement of the gym, having racked up all of these wins, having racked up all of these like self-actualizations. I don't know if I can do this. Oh no, I actually can do this. I can do it 30 times, I can do it 60 times, I can do it 70, 80, 100 times. And it's like, oh well, now I can stand like this rather than kind of standing like this. You know what I mean? It's like now all of a sudden that joke that pissed you off is now like, actually, sorry, I don't like that. Because I'm confident in kind of being me now, like because you've almost built yourself up in the gym, and then you can take that new version of yourself like into any setting and just be like, yeah, I got this.
Yeah, definitely.
Love it.
Yeah, that's what it does. And like one of the things is like, I think you I don't know if you said it earlier, but I know a little bit as well, where you said you've like to what extent do you suffer from anxiety, and how do you control it? How do you manage it?
Yeah, so I think like I try to use it as like a positive force rather than so it feeds into quite a lot of things. Like I'm also a perfectionist, which is quite common for people that suffer from anxiety. But like this is one of the reasons that I have only missed like 4 or 5 sessions in 3 years, because I'm a perfectionist and I like have to do things that I've said that I'm going to do, and I have to be like productive and busy and fill my time with something useful. So I think it's just, for me, it's been a question of like managing things, but also has been like quite a struggle. Like I've had quite a few competitions where I haven't slept a wink before because I've been so anxious and nervous, and sometimes it does get into my head, like with the missing opening squats kind of thing. Like it can really get into my head, but then at other times, like it's almost like I can feel when it's like positive energy versus anxious energy. At other times I can feel like I'm actually like full of adrenaline, which is a type of nervousness, but it's gonna work like in my favor rather than against me. And I'm not quite sure. I think the difference in that is like the mindset that I'm in prior to the lift. Like if it's a positive mindset or a negative one, and if it's positive, it will come through as like excitement, and if it's negative, it will come through as anxiety.
So do you have a process to switch from negative to positive mindset?
No, I actually don't. I think that's something that I need to think about, because it's a time when I can be quite swayed by external factors. But it's more about the people that I let into my like close immediate space. Can't be like just random people. It will be like people that are close to me. So who I keep around me on like a competition day is quite important.
Like that. There's a UFC fighter called Justin Gaethje. and he was on a podcast with the Joe Rogan Experience, and he was talking about how he has, when he's fighting, he has 5 songs, I think it was 5 or 7 songs constantly playing in his head, and he was like, it's almost like when he feels that nervous energy or that fight or flight kind of response almost kicking in, rather than kind of he needs to be in the moment, right? So he'll have a song which kind of slows him down and kind of like brings him back to center. But then when he knows he's kind of he's on a bit of a roll, when he wants to kind of chase the opponent down and kind of corner him off and be that beat kind of in his face, he'll have another song which is kind of like fast paced and kind of like, okay, let's get about it. And I love that. When I heard that, I was like, yeah, that's very similar to how I work. Like my Spotify is the most random place in the world, and it's just like it's totally not linked, but it definitely is there to serve a purpose. And you have the song that kind of slows you down, and like you're warming up, you're stretching, you're mobilizing, you're breathing, and then you have the song which is like, okay, this is top set, and this needs to get done. So let's get it done. I mean, like there's a brick wall, I'm running through it. End of. Like that's I think that's process wise definitely does it for me. Is having songs or having kind of like that. I've sent you that video, by the way. You got to watch it. Having that video just kind of on hand, even if it's just in here. It definitely does the trick.
Yeah, I think so.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I've got like a similar thing like on my playlist. Like there are songs where I know like I need to switch on, so I'm gonna like put this on and
share some. Go on.
I will definitely share. So actually, my favorite at the moment is, and I'm like plugging my friend here as well. It's called Souls.
I missed that. What was that?
It's called Bruised Souls.
Bruised Souls.
Yeah. Right. I'll post it on my Instagram story as well.
Nice.
Yeah, wicked.
It's wicked.
All right. Okay. And is that for like top set? Is that for pre? Is that for
It's for anything really, like top set or like top volume or anything that I need to like really get into.
Yeah. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Mazbou, which is MAZBOU and then a Q.
Okay.
It's wicked. Yeah, music definitely has that effect. So many different random tunes you can get into, but yeah, like you said, I like how you said like right now, because it changes. Like kind of you listen back to like your playlist from like 4 or 5 years ago, or when you first started lifting. I love doing that when like Spotify makes it for you, and you're just like, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Bruised Souls. SOLES. I was looking at SOULS. As in Bruised Souls. SOLES.
Bruised Souls.
Bruised. Yeah. Bruised Souls. When I was typing in Souls, I was looking up SOULS.
Right. Okay.
But as in shoe sole. That's what it is. SOLES. Yeah, found it.
I really love it as well because like I turned 30 last year and he wrote it because like he was turning 30 and it's about like the little journey that you have to take to get to this point in life.
Cool.
It's not it's really nice.
Yeah, wicked.
Music, for sure.
Yeah, man. Music has that power. Definitely use that.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know about you. So like I like that story from Justin Gaethje. It's like I've said it before as well. The thing that I've started doing and is like I'm telling clients to do it as well when they've got a moment where it's like they're not bothered or they're not feeling it. They're not in the headspace for doing something difficult. I'm like, no, pick a mantra, pick something that helps you get into the right headspace, which will make you just do the thing. And then when you start to do the thing, that kind of compounds on itself as well. Like, I've said it, my word is strong. So when I think of that word, I'm like, I have to fucking do something now. I have to take it to the next level, or I have to continue with the training, or if it feels like it's difficult, I've just got to plow through. And then, told that to clients recently as well. And they're like, actually, I'm having a tough time doing this exercise because it's just like, oh, you know what? It's easier to not do it. I could be doing something else. But I know that if I do this, and then like, coming up with all the reasons that are good reasons to do this particular thing, they've like G'd themselves up to do that thing. And then they've chosen like their own mantra, and whether it's one word or whether it's a phrase, and it's like, it's actually starting to work. So I'm like, yeah, wicked. So that's another thing, which is pretty powerful as well.
I like to think of doing something that future Grace will thank me for.
That's exactly what we talking about that last week.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I always say, I'm like, yeah, this is, yeah.
That's awesome.
Love that.
That's amazing. Yeah,
Love that.
exactly. We were exactly talking about that last week as well, which was if if you're feeling like you just want to stay in bed all day, or you're not in the mood to be productive, then if you just ask yourself that question, would future me thank me for this? And you're like, you know what, I better get up and do my thing. And yeah, that's great. That's amazing that you mentioned it as well, because we were just talking about that last week.
Yeah, I think it's really helpful.
Yeah.
Too right. Just kind of a closing thought for me, right? But I think there's so many people out there who would benefit from hearing your story and your take on this, because just from like going back to school days, like secondary school is probably more applicable than primary, right? But like secondary school, college, uni, that message, especially for like females coming up, thinking about being super self-conscious, body conscious, not really too understanding of all the options out there, or even the fact that you can take it your way and you can be super happy with it. You can really fall in love with the process. I think that's such a powerful message. So I think there's a lot of people out there who would really benefit from hearing from you, Grace. Really inspiring.
100%.
Thanks. I do want more women to realise it. That I think, like, for me, like, powerlifting is it's a bit of a rebellion, like my own little rebellion. Like, there's so many things that we're told as women. We're told, like, this is how your body should look, and this is what you should do with it, and these things are for you, and these things are not for you. And I think to just say that, well, I'm going to do this because I like it, and I don't care like how it makes me look, and I don't care whether men are intimidated by it. I just like it. It's like I didn't
just like
Love
that.
It's quite a brave thing to do, and I didn't realise that at the time. So yeah, and I wonder, I think there's loads of women that would like to feel strong and give strength training a go, but I think there's a lot of them that are also intimidated, and I just wish that they weren't, because it's really great and empowering.
And it's you know what, and it's like the other side of that is like, it's actually okay if you are, just step in and start, because then that intimidation factor just pretty much immediately just goes away. It's like, oh, I can do this, forget about everyone else. I think that's so important. And and that's I love that. I had a thought around that. It's left me. It'll come back in a second.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
No, it's brilliant. And I think just kind of this is just a thought that's kind of materialized in my head, but having almost like a big sister mentor, he's kind of like big. You hear about it in like US kind of stuff, where it's like, oh, you have a big sister or a big brother that kind of mentors you through, and you don't really you don't really know them as a person, but having somebody come from a position where you're taking a complete left turn to the rest of society, that's so powerful. That's so powerful, because like having that variance and having that spectrum where it's like, oh, everybody else is over here, but Grace is like, I'll be over here. Cool. See you later.
Yeah.
That's I think that's really, really important to have that difference.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think that thought has come back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you've been doing this thing, and so it's almost like you can just because you're doing the thing that which resonates with you, you will automatically, like, it's like raising your frequency, and then you will start to attract people in a higher resonance as well. So you will end up surrounding yourself with higher quality people. So that's the other thing, is like, if there's something that somebody wants to do, but there's that intimidation factor, just remember the other areas of your life that it can impact, and how it can make you feel, and how good it can make you at everything else that you do.
Yeah. Because I think you need to unpack why it is that you're scared to do something. And often it's because other people have cast doubt over it. It's not because you are actually like, what are you scared of? I'm scared that people will think this, or I'm scared that, if I fail, people will say that, because, it's always about other people's expectations most of the time.
Yeah. There's a lot of programming behind that, right? It's like you just get programmed to kind of believe that, and then it's like what you said. If you ask why enough times, you're going to actually realize that that's all your own bullshit, and you can supersede that. You can go beyond that, and start living your best life, yo.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it.
What we're trying to do.
Love it.
Exactly. And I love the name. Like, we didn't get into them too much, but Another Strong Woman.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, I thought like,
it's done.
yeah, because you told me about the story of your name, like
Yeah.
Brown Bro, and then you've got like a theme Brown, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, it's obviously like identity related names, so it's got
Yeah.
woman or female or something. And then I was like, well, you had a woman on before, so I don't know.
Oh, so you're Another Strong Woman. I like it. That's what you're thinking.
Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful.
I love that.
And there's loads of us, so
Yeah. You know,
No,
what's
that's-
yeah.
Go on, G, go on.
No, go ahead, bro.
It's kind of also like a calling to women out there, being like, is there another strong woman out there? Like to kind of call on your own self to be like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm here representing, like, can you come stand with me and like do the same thing? Like obviously Jude from 2 weeks ago, definitely doing it in her own way. And here we got you doing the same thing. So yeah, big inspirations.
Exactly. And that's another thing, is like, you can always work towards that level. So if you don't feel like you're strong in whatever capacity that it is, you just start on the process, you get stronger and stronger and stronger. And you don't know how far you can go with that. So
exactly.
just start. If you don't feel like you're in that wavelength, just start. You'll pull yourself up.
Yeah. Like everyone starts somewhere. I think that's what people don't realize. Like, and you can apply that to any area of life as well.
Yeah, perfect. All right, that's great. That was Grace. That was awesome to have you. That was some truly inspirational stuff.
Thanks. It was great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, that was. Oh man, I feel like there's other things that we could also talk about as well. You know, there's still areas of your life that we could delve into.
There's loads. Yeah. Make it like a therapy session. Like, why did you like?
Yeah.
It's a lot to unpack. But
yeah, exactly. That's funny as well, because that's what we came out with. Our last podcast, me and Umar afterwards, was like, that felt like a therapy session. And then previously with Jude as well, that went on for 3 hours, and she was like, that was like a therapy session.
Yeah. So why did you do this? And you start thinking like, oh.
Exactly. But that was awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. We loved it. It's so insightful. And any parting thoughts?
Oh, I am just gonna say, as my parting thoughts, like, if there are any women that are scared to do something, just do it anyway. That's gonna be my parting thought.
Let's leave it at that. That's power.
Love it.
Yeah.
Definitely got to have you back on, Grace. Definitely got to have you back on.
Oh, thank you. It's been fun. I'm like hyped now. It's a good Sunday afternoon chat.
Hell yeah.
Go get it. Go get it.
It always jacks us up for the rest of the week. All right, peeps. Thank you for tuning in. Grace, how can people find you?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram. It's Grace versus Gravity. But it's just
that handle.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Great handle. When I thought of that, I was like, I wish I could think of a handle like that. It's awesome. All right, Grace versus Gravity. All right, folks, thank you for tuning in. Great conversation. Loved it. Pumped for the rest of the week, let alone the day. All right, folks. Till next time.
Take care.